There is no such a thing as running out of content ideas. You just don't have a simple system to easily extract these ideas from your brain. Having spent the last 6 years creating content online, I can confidently say that the number one reason why I was able to grow my following to hundreds of thousands and my business to 6 figures is that I made my content creation process simple. So in this video, I will share with you the 3 methods for generating and capturing endless content ideas that do not require you to sit down and carve out time out of your already busy schedule. And if you stick with me until the end, I will also share with you my special content pillar strategy that honestly I haven't seen anyone else talk about, but all successful content creators follow, even if they probably don't even realize it. For the longest time, my go-to method for coming up with content ideas to fill my content calendar alongside my busy schedule was to sit down and batch create the content. I would literally churn out 30 days of content in a 3-hour sitting. But to be fair, the quality of the content that came out of it wasn't that great, and that's because it felt really forced. Instead, there is a simpler way, which involves generating content ideas intuitively. Let me explain. It all starts with consuming content. Have you ever heard of the phrase, create more than you consume? Well, I kind of disagree with it. In order to create more content, you also need to consume more content. So imagine you were to delete your Instagram or stop consuming YouTube videos. When it's time for you to create the content, you sit down to access your database of thoughts that is in your brain, and all you can find are your experiences and your knowledge. But then you'd be missing out on the power of using connection points. As explained in the book, Still Like an Artist, no artist creates their work in a vacuum. All art is influenced by the art that came before it. So one of the best ways to consistently and easily come up with content ideas is to consume content. And one way to do this is to be extremely connected within your niche. Be aware of recent news and industry trends, and yes, consume your competitors' content. A lot of people will advise against consuming too much content from your competitors, but I kind of disagree. It's a necessary part of forming your very own thoughts and ideas, as you might disagree with them or have a whole different take on what they're saying. For example, in my video on how to find your niche, I explicitly mention I agree with the statement that the niche is you, made by Gary Vee and Danko. But I broke down the concept in my own way, bringing up a new perspective on the topic. The concept of losing oneself when niching down too early in your journey. My own point of view I hadn't seen many people talk about. And by the way, this is exactly what Danko has done. Gary Vee, as far as I know, was the first to say the niche is you, and he took the same concept and gave it its own spin. That being said, it's also incredibly important to consume content from outside of your niche. How? You'll do that by creating connection points between your own content pillars and the content from outside of your niche. I will expand on the topic of content pillars later on in the video, but first let me give you a couple of examples of connection points I literally made as I was writing the script for this video. Yesterday, I came across a video on the YouTube's Explore page from a creator in the filmmaking niche. As soon as I opened the video, I noticed how the style of this creator was literally copying a famous creator to a T, without any credit though. Some of her followers pointed this out in the comment section, and the creator kind of drifted the conversation away by saying, oh yes, I was very inspired by her. Except there is a big difference between being inspired and, copying someone without credit. So this event initiated a mini rant inside my brain and literally sparked the idea of creating a piece of content for my own niche, expressing my opinion about the importance of finding your own creative voice as a content creator. Now, let me give you an example of a video I was watching just a few weeks ago, but from an even more different niche to mine. I'm super into fashion at the moment, trying to revamp my wardrobe after I've been in a dress vintage phase for the past 5 years of my life, which I must admit though, sometimes gave improper granny vibes. Anyways, I watched a lot of fashion and styling YouTube videos and came across this one that said, ending boring outfits once and for all. So for once, this title and thumbnail combination is excellent, which gave me tons of ideas for my own YouTube channel. But it also inspired me to create a video in my own niche following a similar framing. Now, this is just an idea. There's tons of research before I will actually decide whether I want to go ahead and create this piece of content, but you get the point. It's a start of something that could actually turn out to be a winning idea. And this idea was generated thanks to connecting seemingly unrelated topics in my brain. Now, we obviously don't want to turn into content machines. We all have our lives and shouldn't spend all our time glued to a screen consuming content. But the great news is that your day-to-day life is one of the most important sources of ideas for your content. And no, I don't mean oversharing about your private stuff, not at all. Don't do that unless you really want to. Everything is content. In fact, the more you are connected with the world around you, the more content ideas you can generate. When you're living your own life, things happen all the time. Sometimes maybe something truly remarkable, some other times just a boring everyday life event. But you can turn any seemingly boring event into amazing content, again by creating connection points. Let me give you a very practical example. The other day, I literally didn't feel like going to the gym. The weather was meh and I was a little tired. But I pushed through because finally, after 3 months of going to the gym for about 3 days a week, pretty consistently, I'm starting to see some results. You know, just when I was about to give up. Anyways, after my workout, I was pondering about how amazing I felt and how proud of myself I was for making it to the gym. And this sparked an idea in me, which I had to record immediately.
Consistency at the end is accountability with yourself. Nobody else can really hold you accountable. It's something you have to do for yourself and stick to it.
So simply by living my life, my brain created a connection with something I immerse myself in every day. Content creation, having a healthy lifestyle, being a better entrepreneur. And was able to generate a pretty interesting content idea, which I may even turn into a whole video on its own. And by the way, what do these videos have in common? Pay close attention. Pause the video and write it down and then keep watching the video because I will give you the answer later on. The last method I want to share with you is to draw inspiration from your past experiences and learning. In short, tell stories. So I decided to re-record this part of the video because I recently changed the way I collect stories to use in my content, and I wanted to share that with you. So originally all of my content was in a Notion database, but I found a better software that you might already have heard of, and it's called Obsidian. So the reason why I switched from Notion to Obsidian is that Obsidian allows you to link your thoughts in a much more fluid way. For example, in Notion, if I wanted to connect different thoughts together, the best way would be to create a link between one thought and another one, or you could create a tag. In Obsidian, the linking ability is much more powerful because there is a feature called the graph view. So this graph view allows you to visualize the connections you've made with your thoughts and ideas. And you can visualize connections you've made within a specific document, but also connections from other documents linked through those connections you've made. And you get to decide the level of depth. So there is so much I could talk about this method, as well as the capture method I use, which is called Zettelkasten, but that's definitely a whole other video. So actually let me know in the comments below if that's something that would interest you. Going back to the stories, think of stories as anything you've consumed or experienced. It could be your own life stories, but it could also be case studies of clients you've worked with. It could be newsletters you've read or even YouTube videos you've watched. And of course, it could also be books you've read. Stories are past experiences and learnings and represent the source material for your content. You can use stories on its own to create one piece of content or to give depth and add credibility to an existing piece of content. And so I highly encourage you to get into a habit of recording stories regularly. Now, I have written down some of these stories in one sitting, but most of them were actually added on the fly. And here comes a little problem. As the idea strikes, you will most likely be in the middle of something else. You may be walking the dog, doing the laundry, or, on the bus on your way to work. So the question is, how do you capture these ideas before it's too late? Think of an idea like a dream. It was so clear and vivid as you were sleeping, and you may still have memory of it as you wake up. But most of the times, the moment you roll out of bed, poof, it's gone. Ideas are sort of like dreams. They strike out of nowhere, and once they're gone, they're gone. So you need to make sure to capture your ideas before it's too late. And for that, you need a note-taking system you can get to fast. I first learned about the concept of having a frictionless system from Jonathan Stark. I enrolled in his daily email workshop, and to be able to send daily emails, you need a lot of ideas. So you need the path of less resistance to capture those ideas, or else you just won't do it. Frictionless systems include note-taking apps you can get to in seconds. And this could be Apple Notes, Notion, Google Keep, Airtable, or even recording a voice memo using an app like Otter. But here's the thing, when you write down the thought as it comes to you, it's often not fully formed yet. It's still in development, so to speak. And so if you leave an half-formed thought in your database, when you go back to it, it just won't make sense anymore. Here's an example of an half-formed thought from my actual database. Reframing the Dear Diary entry. Your audience is not on your list to hear about your life. They are there to solve a problem or achieve an outcome. Like, what was I trying to say here? Like, I'm sure it made total sense in my head when I wrote it, but it's just not very clear anymore when I read it now. So here's a pro tip. Jot down the thought as it comes and take a moment to think about what is the main takeaway? Like, what am I actually trying to convey with this thought? And how does it benefit the person receiving it? And the ultimate takeaway you want to convey with your thought should be closely tied with your brand's messaging and the ultimate goal you want to achieve with your piece of content. And stick with me as I will explain this concept in just... Hi, still me. Did you forget? I gave you an exercise at the beginning of the video. Gosh, I sound like an annoying teacher. So did you find out what these pieces of content have in common? I even gave you a hint earlier on in the video. Let's rewind back to that minute of the video. So this event initiated a mini rant inside my brain and literally sparked the idea of creating a piece of content for my own niche, expressing my opinion about the importance of finding your own creative voice as a content creator. Did you catch it? This is what these two pieces of content have in common. They are both powered by opinions. While content ideas often come from external prompts, the actual substance of the content lies within you. And that's what gives substance to your content. Your opinions. Your opinions are what will bring your ideas to life and will make you stand out as a personal brand, as a creator, and as a business owner. It's what will attract the right people to your mission and repel the ones that aren't a good fit. And in order for this to happen, you need to make sure that your opinions are strong and polarizing. Now, many content marketing gurus and social media managers will define content pillars as 3 to 5 topics you want to stick to in your content. So to keep your messaging cohesive and not diluted by too many topics. For example, I have 3 topics I talk about in my content consistently: content creation, email marketing, and personal branding. But these are just topics. They're not what informs my content strategy. What does inform my content strategy are my opinions. This is powerful because opinions are deeply intertwined with your story, values, and identity. They are the lenses through which you communicate your personal brand, products, and services. This attracts a target audience that shares your problems, values, and vision, seeking a guide for their journey. And when I realized this, that's when I finally stopped creating generic content and focused on what I truly believed in. And that's when my views, following, and revenue skyrocketed, and I finally started to be seen and heard. This is also exactly what all successful creators are doing. After analyzing hundreds of pieces of content, I have distilled all my learnings into a simple 4 steps framework. It's time to gain your content confidence and develop your own opinion pillars. To learn exactly how to do that, watch this video next.